Right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call a special budget meeting of council to order Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Excuse me, approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Norbury.
That the Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 special budget council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder. Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Any opposed on the phone? And who do we have on the phone?
Councillor Majinski.
Thank you. Councillor Hauer, are you there? Okay, new business 3.1, proposed fleet replacement for capital budget 2022. A report from the fleet manager dated March 8th, 2022. Provide information to council regarding the proposed fleet equipment in the 2022 capital budget proposal. Recommendation, please. Councillor Kirkowka.
Council reviews the information for the proposed replacement of fleet equipment in 2022 capital budget proposal.
Seconder. Councillor Lehman, all in favor? Opposed? Any opposed on the phone? Carried, thank you. Okay, would anyone like to start? Thank you to staff for putting this together. Good information here. Any questions, concerns?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Councillor Majinski.
thank you. Just wanted to clarify on the electric Zamboni. Is it a model 650? And if so, is the new cost $150,000?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I'll have Mr. Lowther, our fleet manager, respond.
Thank you.
Mr. Lowther?
Your Worship, Council, I couldn't hear Councilor Majinski.
The-
Did you say 450 or 650?
The question was it a model 650 and the cost?
It's a model 450,
450?
which is the equivalent to what all the other arenas are using. It has the same capabilities of our 520. And I think it was 154,000 less the grant and trade-in.
That's the grant and trade-in, okay. Did you get all that, Councillor Majinski? It was a model 450, 154,000 less the trade-in and something else. Grant, thank you.
Yep, I did get that, thank you. So the capabilities will be the same width of the flooding and everything else, so there's nothing that's gonna be, has a deficiency, compared to our old model?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. Mr. Lowther?
That's correct. It has the same width flooding. And it's used by a lot of other municipalities, and private arenas have changed from 520 and the 525 propane or gas to 450 this size in electric.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Just one more question on that. In our fleet replacement policy for this, if we do go ahead, will it be for the 10 to 12 years of the lifespan that's expected on the new lithium-ion Zamboni?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. Mr. Lowther? Life expectancy?
That could be a recommendation of council. I think it's a 15-year cycle on it, but we could definitely evaluate the machine as it gets close to that 10, 12-year life cycle of the battery and determine its effectiveness to continue or to plan for a better asset disposal if needed.
Okay. Manufacturer stating 15-year lifespan?
Manufacturers saying 10 to 12 years, most are lasting 12 years because of the fast charge system and proper maintenance. They've been getting good lifespan about it.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Councillor Majinski?
No, that's great. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify just because it was a 10 to 12 year manufacturer recommended. So I just wanted to see what our policy on that would have been. Thank you very much for the answers.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kirkowka.
So just on the Zamboni, we say it's 154,000 minus 12K and then minus a grant, and it's at 150. So if we're talking the grant and a trade-in value, the cost to replace is 150. So should that be a lower number? Or is there a reason for it to be that number?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. With asset management, what we do is we have to put the full value in of 150,000. The 12.5 is just to let council know what we are going to get for the Zamboni that we have, and then that goes into our asset replacement reserve. So it goes in. It doesn't necessarily come right off the price in our books, but that's what we're trying to show. There's 150. We'll get 12.5, and then a $5,000 grant, hopefully, because it was due March 1.
March
31st.
March 31?
March 31.
Oh, March 31 is the grant, yeah.
Plus there may be, I think there's a contingency in there too for pricing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Good. Councillor Kirkowka.
Can we just get the hours that are on the Bobcat that's down at the recycle?
Ms. Thompson?
One moment, please.
I can estimate they're about 983-ish. I don't have the exact, I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Councillor?
So just my concern there, staff can correct me, but I believe it's been down there for 5 or 6 years. We got 980 hours on it. Looking at purchasing another unit for 72K. I don't understand. When you start dividing it, it's open down there, staff down there for 6 days a week. And then 980 hours in total on the machine. If you divide that, I mean, can we get how many years it's been down at the landfill for?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I'll have Mr. Lowther respond.
It's a 2015 model. It was purchased in 2015. So, and it's been down there since that date.
7 years. 150 hours a year.
So.
Councillor Kirkowka.
Exactly, and 11, so it's about 1166 a month for hours. I mean, we talked about it, I mean, Councilor, we don't have to say anything, but you know, your last meeting you were saying, oh, geez, we have to get one because we've used it, it's used so much down there. Well, to me, it shows it's not used as much as we thought or maybe concerned about. I think that should be another conversation. At 72K, why would we be purchasing another piece of equipment when to me the one down there is not being used enough? So to me, we have a trailer, or the district has a trailer, to now to haul it back and forth. Now, to me, if staff thinks that the community center is in need of one for, I believe we were told last meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, don't want to put words in staff's mouths, but it was to assist in the snow removing at some of the doorways at the very back of the building. Well, if it's being only used 11 hours a month, you times that by the amount of days they're available. Maybe in the wintertime it can be stored at the community center, and when they needed it recycled, they come get it. I mean, that's a 72K saving in 2022.
I thought we took that off last
We did
meeting.
not.
Not? Okay.
I mean, I don't want to put words in staff's mouth, so if I said anything that was not true that staff said last week, I mean, please correct me, because I don't want to put words that staff may or may not have said. But I believe it was for clearing at the back doors or somewhere in that back area.
All around, I believe it was, yeah.
That would be just a concern there.
Ms. Thompson?
1 second, please.
Yep.
It is taking pressure off other equipment, and its use has gone up a lot in the last year and a bit with the new recycle building and that operation, as well as the tires and rims and things that weren't quite being utilized. It does take pressure off other equipment. For the rec center, it would be primarily used in the back, not the front. I think we discussed that, I think, last. That's what they're saying, is for the parking lot, for the linkways, for the pool, in those areas. So it does take pressure off, from my understanding.
Okay.
Use has definitely gone up at recycle in the last year and a half. And that's why the hours seem low, but in the last year and a half, the majority of those hours, and I apologize, I should have had those hours, I thought I had them written down.
Counselor?
Yeah, so just on that, I mean, that's something we could add into our snow removal policy, that it's a priority, level 1, or whatever we decide that the community center entrances or whatever the staff has just mentioned is concerned or needs to be done first thing in snow removal. Maybe there should be discussion with staff in regards to our snow removal, if that's one of the reasons, or most important reason why we're proposing to buy a Bobcat for the community centers due to winter time, is maybe look at how it works, and maybe we look at shift works in October 15th to whatever, just like the highway signs going out for your tires. I mean, to me, I'm sorry, 72K, I mean, it's, no disrespect to staff, to me, it's a want and not a need. I understand the concept from staff, with Mr. Lowther just mentioning in regards to take some of the stress off other equipment and stuff like that. We also have a new loader that shows up at some time in 2022 that was pre-approved in 2021. I just have a concern with it, so.
Yeah, okay, we can talk about that next item there when we go back over the schedules.
Do you want to just go back to, through the schedule, is that what the plan is, or to interrupt you? I mean, I've got the sheets that staff has supplied, I appreciate that, thank you very much, it's good information, but.
Yeah, so this first one was to review and talk about the fleet replacement. And then 3.2, we will get back into the schedules. So is there any other questions in regards to the fleet replacement? Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, because a lot of these vehicles have low mileage, and I realize that they're old, but I've got an 08 that's got 300,000 clicks on it. So I'm just wondering, with the anticipated improved maintenance of equipment, is that going to help to maybe keep some of these vehicles that have low mile or kilometers on them, to maybe keep them around a little longer instead of replacing after 10 years, maybe go to 15 years, so that, because I mean, obviously the costs are I would think, are going to increase as we go along, so I'm just wondering if we could maybe extend the life expectancy of these vehicles because of better maintenance.
Ms. Thompson, can you tell us what our asset management plan states for replacement years, please?
One moment. I'll have Mr. Lowther respond. I don't have that, the asset management plan in front of me, but Mr. Lowther's been working on updating the fleet replacement policy, which we will be bringing to council, and he'll probably be aware of that a little bit more. Mr. Lowther?
Thank you.
For our policy says all equipment, or all our vehicles and equipment, heavy, light, are all classified as equipment for just ease of policy. It's been like that for a long time. Most light vehicles are 8 to 10 years. 6 to 8 is what most municipalities do. 8 to 10 fits us a little bit better for our use and the amount of hours. And as Councillor Lehman said, we may be able to extend that on some use vehicles, and others may be at the shorter window because they're used heavily. A lot of the vehicles that are low kilometers in our current fleet, but they're older, they have exceptionally high idle hours because of past practice. With different monitoring that we have now, we have better carbon control, I guess, emissions control. So we're watching idling, we're watching unnecessary travel and use. So we will be able to prolong the life of the vehicle, but it all comes down to the cost to maintain, the age, the mileage, and what we can get when we dispose of the asset. Because we want to ultimately use it for the best part of its life and not have to pay to keep it before we can actually retain a big, larger return on investment.
Right. Okay.
So, in answer to the question, some is up to 20 or 25 years, some is down to 6 and 8 years, and it just all depends on the use of the equipment. But the ultimate goal is to get as many years as we can and still be cost effective when we dispose of it.
Right, okay, perfect, looking forward to that. Any other questions? Councillor Kirkowka?
Yeah, mine is actually in regards to the solid waste and cardboard and bear bins.
Yep.
So maybe staff can correct me if I'm wrong, in previous years and previous budgets, there was always a budgeted amount to replace or to purchase so many bins a year. I remember, Ms. Thompson, this might be before your time, I may be wrong, but we stopped for a year or something because there was a buildup or we had enough units. And now I see before us that we're looking for 8 solid waste, 6 cardboard, and 10 bear bins. So I'm just, like I said, it might be before Ms. Thompson's time, but I do remember that it was a item that was always in the budgets to purchase so many bins through that department.
Yeah, I do remember our first year, Mr. Wall brought forward an ask to purchase a few more bins because we were at capacity for the ones that we had already. But Ms. Thompson, are you able to comment on that?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, through council. I am not able to comment on that. But Mr. Simcock and Mr. Lowther are nodding their heads, so I'll have Mr. Simcock and Mr. Lowther respond as required.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I first did the interior audit for lease integrity, we did count on every nut and bolt, everything in this municipality. And I asked the question of Doug Mulder, you know, we've got some bare bins and stuff that are totally deteriorating. Why don't we just get them fixed or bad? And the mechanisms in them, he enlightened me. What did you tell me?
The majority of them don't have the safety latches, just because they're old. And for us to repair them, especially some of the hydraulics, not on the bare bins, of course, it costs more to repair them than it did to replace them with a refurbished bin. It seems to be lasting as long as a brand new bin, and they're 30% savings. Just on the replacement, but probably close to a 60% savings on repairing.
What's the average life cycle from new to need to be fad or replaced?
Between 8 to 10 years. And I think because we missed some purchases over a few years, where we could have probably lessened this number, but in this case, now moving forward, we're gonna have a projection for next year and next year and next year, so that there isn't these big lump purchases. Just better asset management.
Yep, Councillor?
Yeah, and I appreciate the comments at the end, because that was my next question is, are we gonna get back into having that, something in that, so that we don't have, I mean, I don't think it's a big expense, so don't get me wrong, I wasn't questioning the amount or how many bins that staff is looking at. My concern was, that was taken on the table previously, and to me, obviously, never should have been. When we look at that concept. The other concept I have is we rent those bins out to businesses, I believe Stratas. So really and truly, when the bins are rented, are those funds put back into replacement? And if not, is that something that we should be looking at?
Ms. Thompson, is there a bin reserve possibly? I don't believe there is.
Thank you. I'll have Ms. Tegarty respond.
Thank you.
Through to the mayor and to Councillor Krukowka. If I'm honest, I don't know if the money goes back in. If I had to guess, I think it probably goes into revenue, but that's something I will take a look at and see if that happens, because that would be a good idea.
Councillor?
So just back to staff, if they need a motion for something like that to look into that, work on it, and bring it back? Or is that just something staff will, obviously it came out as an idea, maybe staff would have picked it up on their own, so I'm not saying it was because I brought it up, but it just makes sense to me that if we're renting these bins out to businesses and stratas, and they're paying a certain amount, that money should be returned back into
A replacement reserve
fleet
or
replacement,
something?
wherever we got this budget in front of us.
Yeah.
And then they're not, to me, they're not asked for, obviously it's still gonna be in our budget dollars, but it's already paid for.
Yeah.
You know?
Or
It just
close
makes-
to.
To me, it just makes sense.
I agree. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. We would appreciate a motion for that, to bring a report back.
Okay. To bring a report back or just create a bin reserve? Would that, because
It would need to be created by bylaw.
the reserve?
Reserves
Oh,
need to
yes,
be created
yes.
by bylaw, and,
Correct.
Information piece.
maybe, sorry, just speaking with Ms. Haggerty here, just an information piece. The issue that I have with creating individual reserves, and Ms. Haggerty can respond if she chooses, and you end up with a lot of small reserves. If you just have it in a general reserve but tagged somewhat, it's a lot easier because it's by bylaw, right? So if you have 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, 200,000, you can have up to 200 different reserve accounts, and that makes it an accounting nightmare, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Counselor?
So maybe we're just better off to ask for reports. It gives staff time to even look into it, because maybe it's already going somewhere and we just didn't trigger it. You know, maybe we're talking about something that has already been done, or it's going into general revenue, but it gives staff time to have a, you know, instead of them coming and just guessing off the top that they can do this, and maybe we can't, and there's a reason why they haven't been doing it.
Okay, I'm just trying to get some words here.
Just looking for a motion,
Yep.
I think we just asked, I'll put a motion on the floor, to
Please.
ask staff to bring us forward a report in regards to the bins being rented, and if we can start a reserve with that bin rental.
Seconder? Counselor Kirby? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Any opposed on the phone? Carried, thank you. Yeah, good idea, Counselor. That's, that's something that should be easy to track, and I think with that revenue, it's probably gonna take care of a lot of the costs moving forward.
Probably pretty.
Counselor?
Remember, it's probably paid for when you think about the rentals.
Pretty close, yeah, I would say.
You know, it's a taxation still, but it's come out of reserve or whatever way staff can come forward with in the report. You know, it might not be something that has to be a taxed income anymore.
Yeah, and Ms. Thompson, the bins are part of our asset management program as well, right? Have they been, or are they now?
It is now.
Yeah, I mean, it is assets that we do need to depreciate and account for, so I would think so. Counselor Kirkowka?
Yeah, so I think I have one last thing, unless council starts to debate something and bring some questions for it. My only ask would be, I appreciate the information that we received tonight in regards to the units and stuff like that, but instead of unit 25, and I'm fine, I understand that's how staff would use it, or it's probably in their system that way. I prefer to hear what it is. You know, it's the Toyota, it's this, or it's that, just so I understand what we're talking about. I see the make and model, the
Yeah.
year, but unit 34 is a 2007 make model is a GMC. Okay. I believe we have 1 tons, half tons, quarter tons, whatever. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm sorry, I don't think it, and it's not to argue whether we should be replacing something with 141,000 kilometers or not with lot floor run out. It's just, it gives an idea what units or exact vehicles this talks about. I mean, maybe that's none of my business as a council, and I'm okay with that. If that's the correct information from staff, that's none of my business. It just helps when I read it to understand what units they're talking about.
Just a little bit more detail there.
Just like I said, again, just a vehicle, what it is. Like, you know, we have it here on page 8 of 37. 8 of 37, 2007, make models of John Deere. Okay, sounds great. What is it? Rear diff turbo seals, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a mechanic, so it's not my business. What is it? You know, my reason I asked that is we replace things, and no disrespect to Ms. Thompson, but she wasn't here sometimes when we just finished buying a loader, or we just finished buying a backhoe, 3 or 4 years ago. I understand the years would be different years, but it's still nice to know what we're talking about. I don't want to see us having, again, I don't think staff would do that, but we don't end up with 6 loaders and 2 backhoes and 2 vac trucks. When you just start using unit numbers, for myself as a counselor, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Thompson, any comment there?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, we can add that.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Ms. Thompson,
1 second. Mr. Simcox would like to add additional information. Mr.
Please.
Simcox?
We can adopt that, Mayor and Council. This was an internal working document for asset management and fleet replacement longevity. So it was tracking all the data that we have through our PIC system and putting it all into one ledger, right? So we can do more, we can actually put primary operators or whatever on this to send this into a thing. There's other criteria that's not on this document, which is the type of harsh hours versus easy hours. Like the fire department has some equipment that he knows exactly it's easy hours or it's hard hours, depending on who is the operators. Yeah, site-specific data that we go by that triggers and validates the kilometer type. So we can add that in and give you the strict, complete synopsis of exactly what it is. But this was a document we use for tracking and manipulating age and replacement values. So
Okay.
it wasn't, when last asked, council could have this information. We didn't change anything, we just gave you everything we have, but we can adopt it so that if you don't know what the unit numbers are, if you don't know the description of what type of work it does, we could add those two factors in to give you a better.
absolutely. I think that would be great. I think we can leave out the operators though. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I really like the idea of the harsh hour versus easy hours. Excuse me. My equipment is booked, so I don't understanding the harsh hour versus easy hours. Pretty eye opening. It's the first time I've heard about it. So yeah, it's a big difference when you're talking hours and yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay. Any other comments, questions in regards to the fleet replacement? Okay, moving on. 3.2, draft 2022 capital and special projects, a report from the Director of Finance dated March 8th, 2022 to seek approval from council for the proposed 2022 draft capital and special projects. Move for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Kirkowka, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, so we're going through schedule by schedule here. And I believe we left off on Schedule E. Is that correct, Ms. Thompson? Schedule E? Thank
We
you.
were on fleet replacement.
Thank you. All right,
And may I note,
Please.
council had removed, the Bobcat for the community center was defeated, that there was a motion for that, and then that's when the meeting ended, so we were at, I guess that's about halfway down on the fleet replacement list.
okay. So we had motion to remove the Bobcat
And it was defeated.
and it was defeated. Thank you. Questions, concerns? Ms. Thompson, I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer or not, but do we have snow blowers stationed at the community center?
Thank you. We do, and I'll have Mr. Simcock and Mr. Lowther respond to the types or what size they are.
Thank you.
Mr. Simcock?
Yes, we do. In our audit, initiating asset management, when we actually went into the rec center at the rear, snow blowers were one of the issue. Other second and bowling was another issue. I instructed Doug Lowe to put life cycle analogy and instant replacement on items so that finance can activate and for fund replacement. And the age of those.
The current snow blower that they had down there was, couldn't find the year, anything on it, it had been welded up several times, it was inefficient, and we purchased a new, and like snow blower and put it down there. They have been using it.
So there's just the one at the community center then? Okay, thank you. Councillor Kirkowka.
I guess I'd just like to ask from staff side, Schedule E was not approved. I know there was a motion on the floor to remove the Bobcat. Does it stop us from putting a motion on the floor tonight?
Ms. Thompson? I don't believe so.
Why just not approved, is what a question, because I think at any point we're allowed to remove something.
Thank you. Yes.
We are still able to make a motion.
Make another motion. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor
I'm going
Kirkowka.
to put that motion on the floor that we remove the purchase of the Bobcat for the community center.
Seconder. Councillor Kirby, discussion. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, and the reason I put the motion out there again is what I spoke to earlier in regards to the hours that staff's brought forward. And no disrespect to staff, because I know he's just, he just, I won't say guess those numbers, he's probably very close, but, I don't want to stick him to 980 hours, maybe it's 1,000 hours, maybe it's, I'm not worried about that. But that just shows me the use that it has not had. And I think at this time, I think we wait and see. If it's been being used more in the last year and a half, well, then this is something that can be discussed in the 2023 budget, when they show that it's increased how many more hours down there. The district bought a trailer exactly for that use, was to haul that Bobcat back and forth. That's why the Bobcat was purchased for the recycle when it was purchased in 2015. We'll support the motion on the floor to remove it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertram. Maybe staff can elaborate if I'm incorrect, but well, we were told that there was multiple requests to use it at the community center, and they weren't able to perform services because it wasn't available. So, if Councillor Kirkowka is extrapolating that it's not being used enough, it should be over there, then why isn't it? And like, is it the hours it's being used? It's, the low hours are, for me, I'm against the motion because it sounded like we need something at the community center. It's not getting there, so this is why we need it. We're not making stuff.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. I'll have Director Simcock respond. Director Simcock?
So when cross-training, Honorable Mayor and Council, it alleviated and increased the amount of usage of other machines with forks that we could use for the lifting and delivery of stuff for the maintenance division and recreation. That was taken care of. It's continuously being taken care of. What the issue was when they asked for something. When they asked for something, they expected to have immediate response. This clarification and need brought by recreation to the fleet manager, and everything's being brought forward to council. We have accommodated, so please don't think we left them array there. But as far as being able to change times, snow removal at the back is Pinnacle. That's why we're cross-training people in recreation with machine operating so that they can come and get equipment and stuff and do it themselves, properly trained and safe. But it was requested by recreation, validated by the times that they needed the equipment. Primarily, the need was for snow removal, with the additional comment that when we needed it, we couldn't get it. Well, it is parked and does have to be transported, so you can't knee-jerk react on this and get this piece of equipment. So what we are accommodating in our cross-training is alleviating a lot of these problems with requests on the time.
Thank you. And follow-up, Councillor? Questions? Councillor Kirkowka.
I was going to say follow-up, but listening to staff, it's telling me they've been trying to react to the issue. It sounds like the concern was 5 minutes before we need it, call them, how come it's not here? I don't think that's the valuable person sending $2,000 item. think if there's planning done by staff and planning is done properly, then I don't believe, it sounds like listening to senior staff is, there is no wait when they have the proper plan. Again, I'll be supporting the motion.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, call the question, all in,
Mayor, if I may?
sorry, Councillor Majinski?
Yep, sorry, so just wanted to get a couple points of clarification on the Bobcat. Is it primarily used just for snow removal, or is it going to be used for other uses? I kind of missed what Mr. Simcox said there. And then also, just wanted to clarify on the snow blowers. Are they the walk-behind track type, wheel type, or are they the backpack type, like a leaf blower? I just want to clarify on that because I've seen both being used. And if another walk-behind snowblower would meet the needs instead of a Bobcat zipping around the community center, I was just thinking of operators and liability, especially close proximity to the youth center there and the child center. So just wanted to clarify on that.
Sure. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I will have Director Simcock respond. Director Simcock?
Operational, the ops maintenance team does have backpack blowers for cleaning sidewalks off that aren't packed down. The snow blower unit is a walk-behind tire, self-propelled device. There is no warrant need for a secondary walk-behind unit for that facility.
And
Okay, Bobcat over there is being used for deliveries, set up and tear down for special events, forks put on for moving apparatuses, for doing pre-clean out and service maintenance with equipment and tools, and the volleyball and the pitch system there, what do you say? The pyramid, for cleaning the snow and leveling the sand out. What's it called?
I think
Like the
the
jungle
volleyball courts, they use that with that landscape rate,
Yeah.
and then as well as the baseball field, the infield landscape rate as well.
okay. Did you get all that, Councillor?
Yes, thank you very much for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Any opposed on the phone? Carried, thank you. Okay, any other issues or questions in regards to Schedule E? Councillor Krokowka.
I just want some clarity, and I remember the discussion, so I just want clarity back from staff. That's in regard to the Squad 4 Wildland Fire Vehicle Squad that's pre-approved in the 2021. My understanding that's still coming back to council. I understand we pre-approved the funds, but we're supposed to be getting more information and stuff back from staff on it. I just want clarity on that. That's what was discussed at that time, that it was pre-approved, that it would come back. And I'm just curious, because we haven't seen nothing on it yet.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand, through council. I can have Chief Curry respond to that, but I do believe at this time an RFP had been issued or has been issued, and it would come back to council for review once we know what the specs and what the prices would be coming in at. But I'll have Chief Curry provide more detail. Chief Curry.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, the CEO is absolutely correct. Right now, the RFP has been issued for the replacement of Squad 4. It closes on the 23rd of this month. After such time, we'll do an evaluation and a report with our recommendation will be coming forward to Council for your review and ultimate authorization.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, Ms. Thompson, in regards to the drag at the Ball Diamonds. I'm very happy to hear that we're going to be replacing that thing. I'm just curious on design and this it seems like a hefty price tag, so I'm curious if you could add any detail, please.
For sure, thank you. I'll have Mr. Lowther respond once again. Mr. Lowther?
Mayor and Council, it's what we've done this last year and the year before is borrowed the drag from the Saddle Club. They have a proper drag that's actually used in baseball fields and stuff in fields, but it works really well for horse arenas too. So it's that same build, but in a little bit smaller, so that one's really expensive. Ours is, the one we quoted was a little bit cheaper. We don't quite need that big and heavy duty one, automatic, like electric. We can have a hand crank and things like that. So we kind of de-scaled it to what would work for us without being totally manual like the old drag. And it does a really good job.
And so we're building it then? That's the cost of material?
No, that's
Oh,
a pre.
that's a pre-built?
It's a pre, the name is slipping my mind, but it's the same brand, same model, as the Saddle Clubs. It's a professional drag.
Okay, perfect. I don't know if now is the time, but the ball diamonds, the actual diamond infield, is extremely rocky from the base that we put down a few years ago. So I'm not sure if, this isn't the time, never mind. Any other questions, concerns in regards to Schedule E? Councilor Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, I have a couple, but we can just get clarity, like I see again, and it's not an issue, so don't take me wrong, but the replacement generator at the water treatment plant. When we have these generators, so I know we have one at the community center, one at the fire hall, so on, town hall and all that. What's the life expectancies on these and the turnaround for these generators on all our facilities of the buildings of the districts?
Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I will have Director Simcock and Mr. Lowther respond.
In our audit, when we shut the system completely down and activated all the generators, when they opened the door on this one location, I said, what the hell is this? This thing came out of a Fred Flintstone cartoon. But Doug Lowther assured me that it worked fine, and it was one of the oldest apparatuses. But the issue was fuel storage to keep it moving in the event. So the fuel capacity in this system was a small, yeah? Like the hours didn't meet our 7-hour factor to replace the fuel with our shuttle buggy. So I can't speak to the life cycle longevity, and I'll let Doug do that. But it was one of the identifying replacements, other than the generator that we need for essential services for our yard. That was Pinnacle. That this was the secondary unit for energy if we went off grid. We needed it immediately. So I'll let Doug talk about the age.
Mayor and Council, life expectancy is 25 years. The current one is in 1992, I believe. It's got several electrical issues that we've had in the last 5 years. They're not able to get parts. The electrician contractor that we use currently with the district, they last had to get micro switches off of eBay, and it took a month and a half to get them. So it's getting more and more difficult. It's the main generator for our water system, and fuel. Chief Curry might be able to give you the specs of that. I'm not going to ask him quite, but the fuel tank that we were allowed to put in that building was very small for fire code, whereas a natural gas generator, we wouldn't have to worry about it. It's one less generator to haul fuel to. There's no worry about it running out, and it'd be a lot more self-sufficient and a lot cheaper to operate.
Councilor?
Yeah, you don't have to sell me on it. I'm just concerned, I guess my question or my concern arises when we have one at the community center, we have one at the town hall, we have one at the big center, one at the public works, one at the fire hall, and that's why I was just wondering what the turnaround on them was. And it wasn't about that, that's not replace it, that's not the concern I had, it was just looking at that when I see how many, to me, we have generators in every building, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing for some of the buildings that we have, at the fire hall, community center and such, but when we start talking about our big center having a generator and stuff, I just wanted to see what the life expectancy is there. I mean, if it's, your 20, 25 years, I mean, it pays for itself. But that's the only reason I had the question. It wasn't trying to sell me on replacing.
Yeah.
I definitely won't want it.
Certainly needed, yeah.
And then my other question, your worship, would be directed, maybe you can be able to answer. PRD closed site project. What is that?
believe that's the closed landfill site down at our transfer station, Ms. Thompson. Yeah, please, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. That is a liability issue, and if there would be further discussion on it with the detail required, we would prefer to go into closed due to the liability on it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor
I
Kirkowski.
made a motion to go to close.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Kirby, discussion. Councillor
And the
Kirkowski.
reason I'm saying that put the motion up before going to close would be, the reason is, we're looking at approving this at the end of our discussion. Obviously, we can still bring it back, but I have a hard time leaving that in there if we don't have all the details.
Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think whenever we do go to close, we do need to set a community charter section. So if we can nail that down, no problem.
Discussion.
Yep.
Summers. Yep, you bet.
91C and G. Oh, no, 91G. Sorry, 91G.
Section 90, subsection 1, item G.
G.
That is for what? What's G?
One second, I got it here.
Just curious, just so we know.
Litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. Any other comments? Call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. 5-minute recess, please.